Sean O'Malley tells Stephen A. Smith he wants to be a bigger star than Conor McGregor. Okay, fine, so what? I've heard that before. Well, this was different because he laid out a plan. It's always been the difference with Sean O'Malley and everybody else. Sean has a plan. He has a strategy, whether it works out or not. He has a roadmap that he's going to follow. And he actually laid it out for Stephen A. And this is fast. By the way, this is not normal Sean today. I imagine Sean hasn't even slept since Saturday night. Do you know the high that he would be on? Do you know the rush? Do you know all the excitement that he would have and how life has changed? He's got this rib injury. He's cutting weight. Now he gets to eat a little bit. Everybody's wanting to talk to him. He's getting pulled in different directions. The boxing world wants a piece of him. Pro wrestlers taking a look at him. It's just one of these things where I would not assume that this was Sean O'Malley at his best, and it was still better than any other fighter that's ever talked to Stephen A. Because he had a plan. He wants to be a bigger star than Conor McGregor. Okay, that's his statement. That is his mission statement right now. But he then laid out how he's going to get there. He talked about, as a matter of fact, him himself wanting to box, but specifically Gervonta Davis. Now, you guys have no idea what a Gervonta is, but if I would have said the same thing and I told you Tank Davis, you'd go, oh, that's that kid that boxes. Exactly. And while that match isn't going to happen today, Tank Davis is definitely on the rise. He's doing things really well and a couple of more meaningful wins. Get in there with the Lomachenko's and somebody that people have actually heard of. I mean, but in all fairness, right, he's not that far away, and Sean O'Malley's on his own journey as well, and it was just something he was setting down and walking away from, but it was a very hot take. It was a very interesting thing. You hear fighters calling out these boxers all the time, but you don't really hear it like this. It felt different, quite frankly. It felt very different seeing a precision sniping striker who won a world championship with one punch 3 days ago, calling out one of the most famed boxers in the world right now. That felt very different than having a successful grappler who happens to be an MMA champion saying that he wants to go and do boxing. I'll just share with you, it felt different. I'm not predicting that match, but I was interested by it. And then you've got Suga Sean, who I'm going to repeat history because he's already made it very clear he's going after Chito Vera. He's going after a December date. I mean, I like that. I like having an opponent, by the way. I love having an opponent with a date. I don't know that Suga Sean is going to get that December date. He's being competed with. Volkanovski says that he wants the date. I think that Colby and Leon have the date. Conor McGregor is telling the world that he wants it, but he's being told no. Well, if Conor's being told no, they must have a pretty good idea in there. But by the way, they never even had an idea to put Suga Sean and Chito in there until Saturday night when Sean became the champion. So I mean, it's like whatever plan you have, everything goes up in the air, right? You're only as good as the information that you have at the time that you make a decision. I mean, things are really wild in MMA right now for that December date specifically. I don't want to see anybody back down from it. I want to see everybody going for it. But when you have a champion of the world named Sean O'Malley who tells the world, I'm fighting that guy, and here's when we're doing it. And then you have a guy like Leon. I'm not giving Leon a hard time, by the way. I feel like every time I talk about Leon, I give him a hard time. I don't mean to, but to make this comparison accurately, Leon hadn't said boo if he had a mouthful of it. Leon hadn't said the word Colby Covington aside from saying I'm not going to fight him. He hasn't suggested anybody else. He hasn't called out Blahal Muhammad or whatever his first name is, last name Rakhmonov. I mean, Shakura, whatever his name is. The point is, it's very different. If we're looking at a title shot and we want to see what's the best direction to go right now, and you have a champion of the world who called for an opponent on a specific date, and you have another champion of the world that nobody's heard from in 8 months, like, you don't have a really hard decision to make there. If somebody's going to get pushed into the new year, it's the champion who hadn't opened his mouth since March. And moreover, I'm just suggesting for you the strategy and the difference in the way that Sean does things. Now, Sean said something that I liked. It was very polite. It was also very unusual. He said if Ilia Topuria was to beat Volkanovski, I would want to move up to 145 and take on Topuria. But only if he beats Volk. I'm not trying to fight Volkanovski. I just appreciated that. Size matters. There's a reason we weigh him in. Volk used to be a 96 kilogram, which is 211-pound rugby player. He's now, I guess, a 45-pounder, even though, to our understanding, he's the number one contender and next at 155 pounds. I mean, like not for nothing, that's a lot of man, that's a big man, and there's no sense in pretending. Like, at what point can you just tip your hat, that guy's too much? Do we got to go all the way up to the heavyweights? Do I got to say, I'm not going to go fight Tyson Fury because he's too big? Like, you don't really need to finish a statement. We understand. And there was something that was honest and sincere when Sean tipped his hat, very graciously, by the way, tipped his hat publicly to Volkanovski. There was something very sweet about it. There was something very endearing, but there was also something that makes me know, okay, I can trust you. Whatever you say, I now can trust because you're not a hustling, manipulating, working liar like the rest of them. I just appreciated it. I appreciated the entire. I don't hate the tank idea, by the way. I don't think that that's going to happen. And by the way, when that happens, we generally count on the boxer to be the bigger star. Tank Davis is not a bigger star than Sean O'Malley. Tank Davis is not paid more than Sean O'Malley. Well, go to next fight, right? I mean, the paper participation kicks in now, but I think that you understand my point, and some of you might even disagree, and you might want to argue with it. What I'm suggesting for you is, even if it's an absolute statement, or even if I've got my numbers slightly off, the point that they're close, that one doesn't need the other. They could both do something with each other. It's just different. I don't predict that fight is going to happen. I'm making a suggestion that Sean O'Malley doesn't say anything stupid. I don't have 6 minutes and 45 seconds to speak about Sean O'Malley versus Roy Jones Jr. or versus Tyson Fury. But I could spend the better part of my afternoon discussing it, Sean versus Tank Davis, because that's a very realistic and probable match, even if I don't predict for you that's going to happen. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference in call-out? Do you see the difference in strategy? Do you see an expert at work here who wants you to believe him and trust in his sincerity, and therefore he will give you one when that one comes about? And that is what the tip of the hat to Volkanovski was all about. I just thought this was a very interesting thing. And I think that you guys should be aware of it, because I feel that Sean is changing the game. Now, for Sean's master plan to take over Conor, that's a fascinating topic. I'll sit here in front of a jury of my peers right now. You have any idea how many new fans we have in the last 12 months? That's one of the weird things that you guys can't relate to. And I can't either. It's a really hard one. I could even tell you my backstory as how I found this out. When I found out, whoa, this goes really fast. Do you know how many new fans we have in the last 2 years? Just by example. They talk about this is the fastest growing sport in the world, but I don't think that you guys understand what that is. I know that you repeat it. I know that when you read it that you believe that it's true. I don't know that you know what that means. It means new fans are coming in. It means what happened 3 years ago never happened at all, at least not in their mind. Vince McMahon had run into this when he got a national television deal. Hulk Hogan had been pinned a whole bunch of times. Andre the Giant had been pinned a whole bunch of times. People come out there, they body slam Andre the Giant, drop a leg on him, come from 1, 2, 3. All of a sudden, a national television comes into place. Vince gets all the boys together and tells them right now, anything that happened and didn't happen on television, did it happen. Andre, you've never been slammed. Hulkster, you've never been beaten. DiBiase, I mean, he goes around the room. And it's just, well, that isn't true. Andre can't even relate to that. Andre the Giant I was body slammed last night. No, you weren't. If you weren't slammed on TV, you weren't slammed at all. And when I go to TV, I'm going to have my announcers tell the world, nobody's been able to take you off your feet. They couldn't even understand the concept. I know that sounds very simple now, but it's one of those things where they didn't understand the concept. Here's the point that I'm attempting to make. We have more new fans since Conor McGregor snapped his leg and hasn't returned. We have so many new fans that have never seen Conor fight, but they've seen Sean fight. I could make an argument in front of my peers right now. You're telling me Conor's a bigger star. What are you basing that on? Are you basing that on the abysmal numbers of the last television show he did? Because I'll tell you, Sean O'Malley sold a lot more tickets in the last year than Conor McGregor has. I'll tell you, he sold a lot more T-shirts than Conor McGregor has. I'll tell you, he's main evented a lot more programs. I'll tell you, he spoke on SportsCenter more often, and he's been face-to-face with Stephen A. Smith, who they say is the biggest sportscaster out there. So what metric are you going off of to tell me that Conor is bigger? Now, you, of course, could refute that. You, of course, would have a response to that, but you wouldn't be able to say anything that I just said isn't true. So as O'Malley is running McGregor down, how's he going to get there? Is it just about winning? Is it just about entertaining? What's it all about? What did Conor do? How did Conor get to that spot? It's an interesting position. And the way that you find out who's bigger is pretty simple. Who gets paid more money? But there's other metrics as well. The one thing that Conor has that I'm not sure that Sean does have at this current moment, the outcome of the contest doesn't matter. When you get in the point of your career where the outcome of your match no longer matters. You ever hear the expression, well, we're only as good as our last fight? Well, you're only as good as your last fight. I'll be the boss even on a loss. And it was something different. I understood it. Conor's in that spot. Sean's beating everybody up, so we don't know yet. To get over in America as a global superstar is more challenging than somebody else doing business in America. And that's a phenomenon in and of itself. If you have a Canadian taking on a Frenchman, just by example, two different countries, but the fight takes place in Canada, they're going to cheer for the Canadian and they're going to boo the Frenchman. As it should be, as they would do anywhere on earth except America. It could be an American versus a Brazilian. In America, they'll boo the American, they'll cheer the Brazilian. I mean, we just simply don't care. We do not care where you're from. We're going to like who we like. And people don't look down on us for it. That's just the way we do things. So it's a very precarious spot. America has embraced Conor, as has Ireland and as has the UK, as have other parts of the world. So it's a little bit of a trickier scenario for Sean. But I love the goal. It's definitely possible. And more than anything, the difference between Sean and everybody else. Sean has an actual strategy.